Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars, come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
And those who never...
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risked their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has. When you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our government was established to secure these rights and for the good that comes from exercising them well. This is why the founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire. Hillsdale College, pursuing truth and defending liberty since 1844.
Ready to learn some medieval combat, kiddo? You bet, Dad. Let's do this.
You know, spending quality time with your kids is important, but finding a fun and safe way to do it can really be a challenge. That's where Halberds come in. Halberds are the perfect way to bond with your kid while teaching them about history and physical fitness. Plus, they're a blast to play with. So next time you're looking for some family fun activity, grab a halberd and get ready to make some memories.
Come on, Dad. Round 2.
Halberds, bringing families together one medieval battle at a time. This commercial brought to you by the KLRNradio.com Ad Council.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
From red dirt roads to the Capitol steps, Rick's calling truth, no time for regrets. Fire in his voice, facts in his hand, talking sense to the heart of this land. It's the Rick Robinson Show where the truth rides high. No spin, no script, just an eagle in the sky. From D.C. to Tulsa.
Wait. Stop the music. Is that a rooster? That's a rooster sighting. Let's crank this back up in his honor.
And real tune in, speak up and feel what we feel. He's breaking down the noise, cutting through the lies, shining light where the shadow has.
All right. Welcome into the program. This is kind of sort of the Rick Robinson Show's Monday and Friday. I don't think I'm doing one on Friday. We'll be doing the weekend news roundup, and then I'm sure Aggie and I will probably do a show later. But since it's Christmas, starting, pretty much now for a lot of folks, I've decided this is going to be the Monday and the Friday edition of the Rick Robinson Show. I know it's Tuesday. It's really confusing, but it is that time of year to be confused. By the way, welcome back into the chat, Rooster. It's been a minute, and congratulations, my friend. I hope you are still really, really happy. That's all I'm going to say about that, unless you want to put something about it in the chat. But anyway, so hope everybody's having a great day. It is almost Christmas. It's Christmas Eve tomorrow. It's Christmas Eve Eve. This is the Christmas Eve Rick Robinson Show. And because it is Christmas time, and because there's lots of stuff going on, it's going to be a different show today. So yeah, we're still going to do some of the news. But right now, I'm having my little digital assistant scour for anything cool Christmas related while I'm going to do some of the other stuff that I plan to do. And here in just a minute, I've got some stuff that I have prepared because it is Friday. So you guys know normally what I do on Fridays. Well, for me, it's Friday. Normally what I do on Fridays is I do tributes to you guys, which is cool. I do tributes to, because, without the listeners, I mean, trust me, I would still do it, but it's great that people listen. I know the last couple of weeks have been weird because everybody's like, dude, you've been gone for like 6 weeks. We thought you died. We weren't sure you were doing your shows anymore. We didn't know what happened. Yeah, it's been it's been a minute. But we're spinning things back up around here. We picked a weird time to try to do it because it's the middle of the holiday season and everybody's running around like chickens with their head cut off. But yeah, that's really awesome, man. I hope you guys are happy forever. That's all I'm going to say about that. But anyway, so yeah, we're doing things a little bit different today, because we are doing things a little bit differently today. The first thing I want to do, is, well, I've been doing a lot of original music compositions lately, partly because, even though I have music licensing, YouTube still gets cranky. So I've been trying to figure out how to do our own music. So that way I don't keep having to send stuff to Sean all the time, and be like, here, show them this, you're fine. Or something like that, especially with my show. Cause I'm the worst about it because I know I have the licensing and I don't really care, but everybody else is like, dude, it's such a pain in the butt for us to run your stuff. And I'm like, I'll fix it. But anyway, so I have been doing a lot of my own Christmas or my own music production stuff lately. And I have at least one Christmas related. Well, actually, I have two Christmas related songs. So we're going to open with one of those in a minute. And then in the first break of the show, the first official break of the show, I have a montage of a condensed version of the Christmas story and another song that I wrote that will be playing instead of a commercial. And pardon me, I am still, I'm better, and I have, and it's not anything. And like I said, I went to the doctor, tried to figure out what was going on. They couldn't find anything like a couple weeks ago. But the more I start trying to do my work and the more I talk all the time, the worse my voice gets. So it's just kind of one of those things. All right. So because we're going to be doing things a little bit differently today, let's do this first, because that way I can do all my promotion stuff. Actually, you know what? I have that loaded somewhere else. So we're just going to do this instead because it makes life easier. All right, so I know we just got here, and I know I just said hello, but it is Christmas time, and usually around this time of year, we do things a little bit differently. We play a little bit more music. We talk about, fun stuff, talk about plans that we may or may not have, try to get some feedback from you guys in the chats and on X and stuff about plans that you may have going on. But this one, and I know I've played this one a lot for those of you that tune in all the time. And I know some of you have already heard this, but I am going to explain when this one is over why it's kind of sort of based on a real life incident that we had back in 2013, back when we were running under different call letters. But once I tell you the story, you'll probably understand a little bit more about the tone of the song for it being a Christmas song and also some of the language that was used. But this is Christmas Eve at KLRN Radio. And it would help if I would turn that slider back up.
It was the night before Christmas, KLRN Radio, the studio quiet, the lights burning low, the mics were all mounted, board set just right, in hopes that a live show might spark into life.
The headphones lay resting, each coil with great care. My playlist slept softly inside the main chair.
The hosts had all vanished, home tucked in their beds, while ratings and rundowns danced in engineers' heads. The coffee sat cooling long past its prime, beside blinking meters still keeping their time. And the clock on the wall, with a soft ticking chord, seemed cheerful with hope, yet a little bit bored. Oh, it's Christmas at KLRN Radio, where the night shift hums and the lights soft and low. From forgotten mugs to that red on air glow, we're keeping the world company one show at a time. Yeah, it's Christmas at KLRN Radio, where the ghosts of old Andres still steal the show. If you're laughing or lonely or just can't sleep, there's a voice on the dial still knows how to keep.
And out in the hallway there came such a sound, a chair gently rolling, no one around.
A mic arm swung slightly, a script page was turned, like the room still remembered the lessons it learned. The monitors flickered, then settled just right. Every level in balance, no hiss, no fight.
The studios dream when the world's fast asleep.
This one holds stories it promised to keep. You know, studios don't really sleep, they just wait. They remember every laugh that bounced off these walls, every breaking story that hit 5 minutes too late, every quiet night when someone stayed up just to keep the lights on.
Because somewhere out there someone's awake longer than they planned, wondering if anyone else is still listening.
And that's when radio does what it's always done, it stays. Somewhere a listener sat up too late, a radio glowing past midnight's gate.
The house was asleep, the tree still lit, just one quiet soul keeping company with it.
No big celebration, no perfect night, just a voice through the dark saying you're alright. And the studio did what it's always done, left a light on till the night was done. Oh, it's Christmas at KLRN Radio, where the night shift hums and the lights soft and low. From forgotten mugs to that red on air glow, we're keeping the world company, one show at a time. Yeah, it's Christmas at KLRN Radio, where the ghosts of old road trees still steal the show. If you're laughing or lonely or just can't sleep, there's a voice on the dial that still knows how to keep. From our little studio, warm and sincere, Merry Christmas to all. And thanks for being here.
All right. I don't know, BZ. They sound right in my ears, but sometimes my ears are as bad as my eyes. Some of you that see me on camera can understand that joke now. Anyway, so we're here, we're live. We have BZ hanging out in the chat. I'll be hanging out with them tonight too. So yeah, I'm pulling double duty tonight. I'll be on hour 1 of the Manorama panel, and then I'll be jumping over into the SHR studios as fast as I can to hang out for their end of year special. So it's going to be a long night for me, which is another reason why we're not doing a morning show on Christmas Eve. Plus that, so before I get too far afield, because I do this all the time. All right, so let me explain, because I know for a Christmas song that kind of had, and somebody else pointed out, it's just like, dude, this sounds like Whiskey Lullaby and The Night Before Christmas had a love child. I'm like, that's kind of what I was going for. So I'm glad it worked out. But anyway, so what a lot of you may not know, because some of you have not been with us for the entirety. So in 2010, all of this started as a crazy idea. So 2009-ish, it kind of started rattling around in my brain pan as an idea. And then late 2009, early 2010, I started a Facebook page where I started griping about politics. So what had happened was from 1998 until 2009, I had built and was running my own private security firm, private investigations firm, executive protection firm, doing all those cool things. Even got into some, fugitive recovery because, I used to like to kick in. What can I say? I used to like to kick indoors. Don't look at me in that tone of voice. But so anyway, Barack Obama came on the scene. The economy started contracting before he was ever even sworn in. Next thing I know, a lot of the folks that were paying me on a regular basis, and trust me, because I never wanted to wind up getting sued for not being able to pay anybody. So, and I always had some of the more sketchy clients in the beginning. So we were even using this thing called a factoring company, which basically would take our invoices, give us 80% of face value of the invoices, collect the money, and then give us the remainder minus their percentage. So I always had money coming in until this happened, because even on some of my slower paying clients, eventually the factoring company was like, dude, they're not responding to your invoices anymore. We don't know what to do. So anyway, so 2009, that part of my world kind of blew up. So that's when I moved into call center work, which I thought I was going to hate. Turns out I was pretty good at it. And then started doing some other things. But because everything that I had poured blood, sweat, and tears into was gone before the dude was ever sworn in, and it seemed like I was one of the only people noticing that, hey, some of these things that he's saying that sound syrupy sweet were just kind of terrible. So anyway, long story short, that is what put me on the path that you see me on today. Well, what also happened around that same time is, the Facebook page was fun at first by myself, and then I got kind of bored. So then I came up with this crazy idea of making a Facebook page kind of loosely based on what Hannity and Combs used to be before Combs left, and it just became hair gel all the time, 24/7. Wait, did I say that? My bad. Anyway, I'm sorry. Not really, but I have to at least feign it. But no, anyway. So then I came up with the idea because podcasts were around, but they weren't as big in 2009, 2010 as they are today. So it was kind of a newish thing. So at that time, I had a friend who was running an internet radio station that was streaming music all the time. So I pitched him the idea of doing a talk format, sister station, and talked to him about it in his office one day, and he basically laughed me out of his office. Well, in case you haven't met me yet, have we met? I'm very stubborn, so I started figuring out a way to get it done on my own, even on a single show format idea. So I started talking to the guy that eventually became my co-host for what started as a very tongue-in-cheek, campy kind of show called Wubbles and Nubs Present My Two Cents. Yes, I started my Twitter life as a pissed off penguin in a Gadsden t-shirt, a Gadsden flag t-shirt, complete with "Don't Tread on Me." And at one point, he was even holding a 45. Till Twitter said, "Hey, you should probably take that gun out of here." Yeah, that's when I knew we were going to be in trouble. And that was a long time ago. But so anyway, so the funny thing is, we were terrible at first. Neither one of us knew what we were doing. I used one of my cousins as my producer. We were all in different locations. We were using very cheap equipment at the time because we didn't know anything about it yet. And so the very first episode was so bad that we spent the entire second episode making fun of each other, which made us insanely popular all of a sudden. And then we got so popular that we decided we were going to rebrand and make it more serious. Well, by the time we were starting to rebrand and make it more serious, that friend who had laughed me out of his office was blowing up was messaging me on, texting me on my phone. "Hey, you need to call me. Hey, you need to call me. Hey," I'm like, what the hell? So I finally call him back. He's like, "Hey, I bought you a radio station." I'm like, "You did what?" He's like, "Yeah, remember K98FM.com out of California? They sold the rights to it. I bought the rights to it. and you're going to run K98 Talk, and I'm going to run the music side. Like, so what happened to this is a terrible idea and it will never work. Trust me, there's a setup here. There's a setup here. That's why we're doing the long way around. Because he's just as integral to this story that I'm about to tell you, which is why this is all important. So yes, this Christmas song is under our call letters now, because I don't know if the other ones still exist or who has the rights to them now, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes. But so what had happened, and then remember, this is 2011, 2012-ish, when we were finally getting all this put together and changing it to run under the new banner, etc. So Christmas Eve 2013, just a few months later, because this was the very end of 2012, the beginning of 2013 when we got it all finalized. So just a few months later, I'm telling him, a couple weeks before Christmas, hey, I'm gonna be gone for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And he said, well, that's all right. I'll just do some music related stuff and run it on both channels. And I'm like, okay, cool. So he was having so much fun the couple times that he'd been on the talk side that night he integrated, he was playing Christmas music, like actual, commercialized Christmas music, but he would also break in with some talk breaks. Well, about halfway through his first hour, he started seeing a message from someone who and again, I'm only able to take this stuff at face value because we really don't know. But at the time, he was being told that this was a 16, 17-year-old kid who was home alone on Christmas Eve because he didn't want to go with his parents. Well, he didn't tell his parents the reason he didn't want to go with them was because he was planning on taking himself out while they were gone. Well, for some reason, he started messing around on the internet, found that show, and when he put that in the chat that my former partner was monitoring, dude stopped the entire show. It was like, look, I don't know who you are. I don't know if you're serious or not, but let's talk. He gave him the call-in number for the studio. Dude kept him on the phone for over an hour and a half, still, playing music and stuff. But while he was playing the music, he'd have him on the line and he'd be talking to him while the music was playing. And then about an hour and a half later, kid's parents show up. And at that point, he got a message a couple days later from that same kid going, I just want you guys to know you saved my life that night. All these years later, this still kind of gets to me a little bit. Because I had completely thought that part of my life was over. Because that's what I used to do. But even doing this, and I don't know if it's happened before, I don't know if it's happened since, but even doing this, there was one moment where something that I had helped create, something that was part of my idea, part of my DNA that I didn't even really know I had yet, apparently led to saving a kid's life on Christmas Eve. And that's why that song exists. That song's been rattling around in my head now for over a decade. I just didn't have really any way to get it out. I had a couple of lines here, some chords there. And I was telling this to a friend of mine the other day. I was like, it used to be so expensive to try to get anything produced that, I have tons of ideas. I have notebooks full of song ideas and chords and lyrics and all this stuff. And I'm starting to use them. But it's funny because nobody in my family ever really knew that I had that in me. So I've started sharing them some of my work before I even let you guys listen to it. And one of the songs that you're about to hear, I played for one of my cousins yesterday without telling her that I was the one that wrote it. So then she started frantically looking for it. She says, why can't I find this on Spotify? I want to put this on my playlist. This is awesome. Where did you find this? And she goes back and she looks at because, I've got this little weird handle on Suno. And she's like, wait a minute. Did you write this? Maybe. This is awesome. But yeah, so we're going to be playing that one here in just a second. Also, like I said, with an abridged version of the Christmas story, because Suno has time limits. I found that out last night. There's a military tribute song that I have finally put together. I wasn't able to do everything that I wanted to do, and I may tweak it again, shrink it a little bit so I can fit everything in, because it's got a lot of extra bridge work and pre-choruses that I kind of wanted to use as transitions. Some of you are like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Shut up. But yeah, anyway. So before we play the song, I do have to talk about this because this surprised me. So because I was doing a Christmas related show, remember I told you I had my little virtual assistant Ace trying to find me things to talk about. So you'll never get this. What do you think the top Christmas cookie trend is for America right now? Because it's probably not the one that you think. A cookie known as the Peanut Butter Blossom is dominating as the trending holiday cookie in the United States this season. One, I've never had one. Two, it doesn't really sound like a Christmas cookie to me. It's kind of like that, Italian song, Dominic the Donkey. They swear it's a Christmas song. It doesn't feel like one to me. Wait, did I say that out loud? I'm gonna get hate mail from Gene. I can already feel this coming. Anyway, all right. So without further ado, here is the Christmas story, KLRN Radio style, with my newest composition. Well, I can't really say newest anymore because I've put out 2 since then. But one of my newer compositions, The Miracle Is You. We'll be right back. I'm not really going anywhere, but just because you're not going to hear me talking for the next 6 minutes or so.
Isaiah 9:6. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. But the angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Mary. You have found favor with God. You will conceive and give birth to a son, and you are to call him Jesus. He will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord God will give him the throne of his father David, and he will reign over Jacob's descendants forever. His kingdom will never end." While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger, because there was no guest room available for them. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid. I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all the people. Today in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord." The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth.
The night was quiet, the world stood still. No trumpet sounded on the hill. We were watching the skies for fire and flame, but heaven whispered a different name. We were looking for a sign. You were closer than we knew. We were waiting for a Savior. You were closer than we knew. We were looking for a miracle, and the miracle was you. Not the answer we imagined, but the hope that pulled us through. Emmanuel, God with us, the miracle was you. We wanted crowns, you chose a cross. counted strength by what was lost. We thought the world would change in a day, but you changed hearts in a quieter way. And you knew every broken place before we knew your name. We were waiting for a savior. You were closer than we knew. We were looking for a miracle, and the miracle was you. Not the answer we imagined, but the hope that pulled us through. Emmanuel, God with us, the miracle was you. Thank you for knowing the prayers we couldn't pray, for the healing we didn't know how to name. Thank you for the love that came so near, for stepping into all our fear. You didn't come the way we planned, but you came just as we needed you to stand. With us, we were reaching out for heaven. Heaven came down low. We were asking you for rescue. You became our hope. Not the miracle we wanted, but the gift that carried us through. Emmanuel, God with us, the miracle was you. Still the miracle, still with us.
And welcome back. Pardon me. Welcome back into the program. Sorry, I keep trying to clear my throat while my mic is closed, and then I start trying to talk, and it happens again. Anyway, so yeah, programming update. I will not be on BZ's show tonight. Somehow I got my wires crossed. End of year show is next Tuesday, December 30th. So that's when I'll be hanging out with those boys. However, I'll still be on Manorama, so I guess I'll be hanging out for the entire 90 minutes or so over there now, after all. Anyway, so much for thinking I had best laid plans, man. Best laid plans. Anyway, so I know that the show's a little different today, partly because I don't really feel like yelling about the usual stuff on the day before our world was changed forever. But at the same time, there are still some things that I need to talk about, and I'm finding ways to try to frame them in a Christmas frame of mind. So one of the things that I want to talk about is probably one of the country's biggest Christmas presents from President Trump, and that's gas prices. I know BZ was posting some, I think he posted one last night showing somewhere in, I believe it was Utah, they have gas prices down to $1.11. If that's the truth, then they're even blowing us out of the water, and we have some of the lowest gas prices in the country right now. So our average gas prices here in Oklahoma are well below the national average. So holiday travelers and commuters are going to have an easier time. Shipping costs should continue to go down, because as regular gas prices go down, diesel does usually follow suit. Everybody gets upset because the diesel price is more expensive than gasoline prices, especially because those of us that understand how this stuff works realize that diesel is basically a byproduct of them making gasoline in the first place. But everybody forgets the reason why it's gotten so expensive isn't because of the price of the diesel fuel itself. It's because of all the different taxes and penalties that get added on because you're using diesel fuel. But prices have fallen significantly over the past few weeks, and even compared with a month ago. So lower gas. So here's what we're looking at right now. The average a month ago was $2.53 a gallon here in Oklahoma. The statewide average now is $2.29 a gallon. So we're talking about almost a 30% or a 30-cent drop just in a month. And if that, I mean, and here's the thing, folks. When I started trying to look for, things people are buying, all this stuff, et cetera, of course, because I use large language learning model to help me put my stuff together. Of course, it's trying to leftize a lot of the things that I wanted to talk about because it's programmed to do that. no matter how many times I think I've, gotten that out of its system, as soon as they do an update, I have to start over again. So one of the things that I noticed when I first started asking it this question is, it started spitting back out, well, even though gas prices are lower, everybody's consumer confidence is still kind of low. And I'm like, is it really though? Is it really? And is it low because it should be low, or is it low because everybody's listening to the media that wants everybody panicking all the time? And I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of times anymore, that's happening no matter what your spectrum of media choice is, because everybody's figuring out if they can keep you locked in all the time, they make more money. And again, I know this is an antithetical thing for for a capitalist to say, but in my opinion, there are certain things that should never be for profit. Medicine and information should never be for profit. Those should be being done for different reasons. It's kind of like people that serve, whether it's first responders, whether it's military. A lot of those folks don't make good money, and that's not why they do it. They do it because they feel led to serve. So the idea and what we've been watching happen in this country, and now apparently it's getting even worse in places like Canada. I saw a story yesterday where they are offering assisted suicide to people that have conditions that may not be treated in time because of their long medical waiting lines. And we keep we keep telling everybody in the world that's the stuff that we want here. So, but I have to ask the question, why? Why is it that we as a collective society keep pushing for this? Now, I did say we in the collective sense, and I know some of you that are listening, well, I'm not pushing for it. I know you're not. But are you doing enough to wake people up about the monstrosity that this country is going to be if we turn into something like that? One of the things nobody talks about, and let me do something real quick while I'm thinking here. One of the things nobody talks about, like in Britain, right? They're like, see, we have healthcare for all. Yeah, what's your average population? Because nobody really talks about that. We are one of the largest landmass countries on the planet. And yeah. And even in Canada, where they also have this similar system, guess what their population is as of 2025? Approximately 41.5 million people. You know what the average population is in America? Because I do. I'm pulling up the exact number just so you guys can't say that I didn't get a source for it. But I already know the general answer. 347 million people is the latest estimate for the population of the United States of America in 2025. So, and this is the point I'm trying to make. The push for, single payer healthcare system, which is basically, communist medicine, whether anybody wants to tell you that or not. I mean, trust me, we already have a communist capitalist hybrid, and that's why it doesn't work. Because nobody talks about the greed that is baked in with communism. They talk about the greed that's baked in with capitalism, but there's greed that's baked in with communism too. And once you start trying to blend the two, you have the greed of communism being fed by the engine of capitalism, which is why it never works, which is why eventually the system breaks down. But if a country like Canada, with what, a fifth of our population, roughly, can't keep up, how the hell are we ever going to be able to? Nobody talks about that part. Nobody talks about the actual logic points of logistics if we decide to go down this road. Great Britain can't keep up with their patient load. Canada can't keep up with their patient load. And they have much smaller populations than we do. So nobody, and again, that's either something that nobody says out loud or doesn't talk about enough. And that's why I know we're trying to do a fun Christmas show, but I thought this one was important because we're having this argument again. You've got all the Democrats. Remember, they shut the country down for over 45 days, trying to basically hold us hostage to get their money for their pie in the sky. We want to keep all this Obamacare crap going. And the one thing that I would like to remind you guys about, and I know it's evil for me to do this on Christmas Eve, but I'm going to say I told you so because I've been telling everybody since 2009 that Obamacare was a terrible idea. Unfortunately, even though there were a lot bigger voices than me saying the same thing for the same reasons, it still happened anyway. Because you had Nancy Pelosi going, "Oh, no, 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 no. It's going to be okay. We're going to pass it, and then we'll find out what's in it. And then you're going to realize that you get a Christmas present from Congress because you don't have to worry about your medical costs anymore." And then you've got Barack Obama. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. If you like your plan, you can keep your plan. It's going to save average American families $4,000 a year. I'm reminded of the old snake oil salesman from, the old West and in frontier days. Because that's kind of what happened there. Or in modern parlance, the entire country was subjected to the Simpsons monorail skit, just in the form of healthcare. Because everybody bought into the flim flam instead of paying attention and going, hey, they have this stuff up north and those folks come down here. Maybe we should rethink this. But anyway, like I said, what the hell do I know? I'm just a guy that gets paid to talk for a living. But anyway. All right. So let's see what other interesting stories I can find real quick, like before we get ready for the bottom of the hour. Also, we're going to end the hour with a law enforcement tribute that I put together. And then we're going to open the hour after the intro, of course, with military tribute. Now, this is a long format one, so this one will run for a few minutes, but I like it. I'm proud of it. And so I'm going to play it. But anyway, so let's take a look at everything here. So we already went over gas prices. So, well, let me go through this. As of right now, like I said, $2.34 a gallon for E10, $2.50 for regular gas, which is not E10, is the average. But again, I mean, even in my area, we're below the average, which is weird because I live out in the middle of nowhere. So, and usually we have to pay a little bit more. All right, so here's something I didn't think I would see come back because I've been around for a minute. Everybody remember the old school velvet ribbon garlands? Because I do. That was so it was weird because my parents' tree was always kind of anachronistic, or that's not really the right word, but kind of off-putting with what they put on it. Because on one hand they had the cool velvet garland, and then they had the garland that looked like it was a miniature version of a boa. Usually silver, shiny. Everybody remember what I'm talking about? Yeah, and then icicles everywhere. I love those icicles as a kid. Now I understand why my mom and my dad would yell be like, "No, we're not putting those on the tree this year." We're not like, "Can we please put the icicles on the tree?" Because I did that first time we had kids because I always thought it looked really cool, and then I spent every day cleaning them up. So yeah, I kind of understand things from both sides now. I really do. All right. So, this is the last quick hit for Christmas stuff for this hour. I thought this was interesting though, because on Juxtaposition, Amish and I have talked about the dead internet theory extensively. And if you've spent any time on X, sometimes you start to feel like maybe it's not so much a conspiracy as a reality. However, for at least the Christmas season, it seems the internet is alive because there are all kinds of Christmas memes going around So the top memes so far for 2025 include Santa versus the Grinch. Um, and then, of course, the annual yet perpetual argument of is Die Hard a Christmas movie debate. So, yeah, I will say, in my opinion, yes, it is. Not only because it's set on, in the time of Christmas, but because it was all about a family gathering that a dude really didn't want to go to and then got talked into, and then everything went sideways. Sound like anybody else's Christmases? I know I've had more than my share of those over the years. All right. So the funny thing is, everybody. So as we get ready to fade things out and move on to the break, want to hit this real quick because everybody keeps talking about how squishy the global economy is, but we have 309 million people between mid-December and January 4th anticipated to be traveling through the air. Seems to me if the economy was that squishy, people wouldn't be able to afford air travel. But hey, what do I know? All right. So anyway, so as I said, we do have we're gonna do our tribute to first responders. This is also a this is also an original composition and production of mine. So I hope you guys like it. And if you don't, I don't really. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Except now I got her. I was tired. And my brain is not working. And I have too many versions of the same stuff now. So now I'm scrolling down. See, why is that? Oh, maybe it's because it's only over here. I bet you that's probably why. I don't think I ever had to move it out of the non-download section. That's probably why. So yeah, I have music and stuff stashed in multiple places. And sometimes I forget where I stashed it. So yeah, anyway. Okay, that's weird. It's not showing up in either place. And I know I downloaded it. Oh, I know why. It's got a stupid it's got a red light in the title. It looks like the old bubblegum drop lights that they used to have on the top of the cars. Anyway, all right. So I found it now anyway. So this is going to count as our outro to break. And then when we come back, we've got plenty more things to discuss. And we'll also, again, have our all military branches tribute in a new way because I got tired of playing the same old thing. And I finally got around to writing one. So I hope you guys like it. My name is Rick Robinson. This is my show. It is our Monday and our Friday all rolled into one, which is why we're doing things a little bit differently. It's also Christmas Eve, so we're going to try to have as much fun as possible. We are still going to be bashing the left a little bit because that's kind of my Christmas present to you guys. We'll be right back, though.
When the call comes in, somebody answers. Day or night, they're already moving. Calm voices, fast hands, doing the work while the rest of the world freezes. From a headset to a truck, from a badge to a door, they don't stop to count the cost. They step in when it matters. It's not about being seen, it's about being there. They're holding the line when the lines go dead, standing their ground when the world goes dark. They're the calm in the chaos, holding the line through the fire, the flood. When everything falls, they don't ask why, they just answer the call. Always standing in the gap for us all. sirens fade, before the scene is clear, someone's already making sense of the moment. Keeping people alive, keeping things from getting worse. Some run toward danger, some stay behind and hold it together. Different roles, same weight, same promise to show up. When everything's on the line, they're already there. They're holding the line when the lines go dead. Standing their ground when the world goes dark. They're the calm in the chaos, holding the line through the fire, the flood. When everything falls, they don't ask why, they just answer the call. Always standing in the gap for us all. This is service, this is sacrifice, this is how lives are saved. No spotlight, no applause, just showing up again and again. They're holding the line when the world goes dark. When everything's breaking, they hold their ground. They're the calm in the chaos, holding the line. So we raise our voices for the ones who stand. Every voice, every badge, every helping hand. They don't ask why, they just answer the call. Always standing in the gap for us all. Always standing in the gap for us all. For those who run and for those who hold steady, for those who stand in the gap.
Hour one is in the books. Hour two on the other side. We'll be right back. My name is Rick Robinson. This is my show. Merry Christmas Eve. And you're listening to us live on KLRN Radio. Back in a bit. Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars, come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risk their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has, when you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our government was established to secure these rights and for the good that comes from exercising them well. This is why the founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire. Hillsdale College, pursuing truth and defending liberty since 1844.
Ready to learn some medieval combat, kiddo?
You bet, Dad. Let's do this.
You know, spending quality time with your kids is important, but finding a fun and safe way to do it can really be a challenge. That's where halberds come in. Halberds are the perfect way to bond with your kid while teaching them about history and physical fitness. Plus, they're a blast to play with. So next time you're looking for some family fun activity, grab a halberd and get ready to make some memories.
Come on, Dad. Round 2.
Halberds, bringing families together one medieval battle at a time. This commercial brought to you by the KLRNradio.com Ad Council.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes.
You're damn right it do.
Listener discretion is advised.
From red dirt roads to the Capitol steps, Rick's calling truth, no time for regrets. Fire in his voice, facts in his hand, talking sense to the heart of this land. It's the Rick Robinson Show, where the truth rides high. No spin, no script, just an eagle in the sky. From D.C. to Tulsa, he's calling it out. Mic in his hand, yeah, he's got the clout.
Welcome back into the program, ladies and gentlemen. Before we move on to the military tribute, couple of things. One, I'm kind of kicking myself right now because I didn't Christmas up my intro for December. I'll figure that out before next year. Also, if you're friends with the Amish one, ask him to tell you what I gave him for Christmas. That's all I'm going to say about it until he starts sharing it. But, yeah, anyway. Let's just say I got a little creative. All right, so without further ado, my name is Rick Robinson. This is my show. It is Christmas Eve here on KLRN Radio. So hope everybody's... I know for me, I have to go buy one more present today because I realized I forgot something. Damn it, I thought I was done. For the first time in forever, I was not going to be going out. Well, I still won't be going out on Christmas Eve. But trust me, there have been a few times I've been last-minute Christmas shopping on Christmas Eve. Do not recommend, 0 out of 10. All right, so anyway, now, this is a composition of my own. Part of the reason why the show may seem a little more haphazard today is because it was. I was up until 3 a.m. trying to dial it in. And then I still couldn't get it just right, so I fixed it up with my own editing skills, so I could still use it today. Some of it's not there because I'd forgotten that Suno has time limits. This is a longer format song, but it's that way for a reason. This is called Because You Stood, and this is going to be my Christmas present to troops, past, present, and anybody who's enlisting right now. This one's for you.
Before the oath was spoken out loud, before you stood apart from the crowd, there was a moment, quiet and clear, when you chose to stand while others stayed here. You raised your hand with a steady resolve, knowing some nights don't end when the mission's done. Not for glory, not for the pay, but for something worth more than walking away.
Only hold the line.
They carried the weight where the roads ran long, through dust and heat
When the days went on,
holding ground mile after mile, doing the work
that rarely drew a smile.
They stood their post when relief ran late, shoulders squared under the pull of fate.
Not chasing headlines, not asking why, just staying put when others pass by. We stand watching different ways, different nights, the same long day. One old spoken carried through, wherever duty calls us to. Heavy.
We stand watch over the deep.
Heavy.
They kept their watch where the water turns black, miles from shore with no quick way back, measuring time by the rise and the fall, answering duty's unrelenting call. Through silent hours and endless seas, they stood their post in the cold night breeze,
Guarding the lanes the world depends on, so others slept and the light stayed on. We stand the watch in different ways, wherever duty calls us to. Simplify Marine. We go where we're sent. We go where we're sent. They moved as one when the moment came, side by side through fire and rain. First a step where the ground was thin, not for the odds but for the ones beside them. Trust was earned in the hard way through, every promise carried by the few. No turning back once the line was crossed. They stood shoulder to shoulder as brothers, never counting the cost. We stand the watch in different ways, different nights, the same long day. One old spoken carried through, wherever duty calls us to. Air Force, the sky is our domain. Air Force, the sky is our domain. They held their focus where seconds seem eternal, soaring between clouds and blue. Every movement measured and true, knowing what one clean moment could do. They watched the whole while guarding the small, every mission tied to a larger call. Calm under pressure, steady and clear, keeping the promise from far overhead. Space Force, we guard the dark without faith. They keep their vigil where silence reigns, beyond the weather, beyond the rain. Watching the paths that the world relies on, long before the warning lights come on. Cloud, no banners, no clear view, just constant care in a canvas full of stars. Standing the watch through the endless night, guarding the systems that keep us in light. While the watch is kept and the lines hold fast, they're alive, still moving on the other side of that. Empty chairs and quiet phones, long goodbyes that don't feel done. Names we carry but never say, folded flags and debts we pay. Every service, every scar reaches farther than the uniform ever could. Coast Guard, we come when it matters most. They launch into storms when hope feels thin. Turning back isn't an option then. Hands reach out where the waters rise, pulling lives back from the edge of time. No headlines waiting when the call is done, just breathing restored and another life won. Every rescue, every return, a quiet promise kept in the worst conditions. We stand the watch in different ways, different nights, the same long day. One old spoken carried through, wherever duty calls us to. For the ones who raised the right hand high, swore the oath and didn't ask us why. For the nights you stood where freedom cost, we remember, we on, we won't forget the loss. From the ground to the sea, to the open sky, to the guardians above where the silent stars fly. Every branch, every badge, every battle scar, because you stood, we live free. Oh, we know we stand here freely because others stood before us. We accept the weight of what was given and the cost that came with it. We promise to remember those who serve, those who stand watch still, and those who never came home. We will honor your faith.
That was not the correct version. Haha. There's a cleaner ending one that I cut together on my own, but that's what happens when you outpace your AI assistant. So anyway, so we're back. We're live, and I'm really sad that I didn't play the right one because I really thought that was it. Anyway, so like I said, that is still kind of a work in progress. I now that I'm understanding how the system works, I wanted to see exactly what I could and couldn't make it do. It put out most of it like a champ. I will say that it took dozens of variations of this to even get it to that point because it kept tripping over the directions I was giving it versus the lyrics. So yeah, it's still not perfect. But anyway, so that is Because You Stood. And that is my Christmas present to anybody who is a still actively serving military, retired from the military, or in the process of joining the military, because it takes a special kind. I will say that. And I say this all the time as somebody that used to dodge bullets for a living. To me, the as far as the first responder branches, the one that seems the most crazy to me is the one that willingly runs into burning buildings. Although I will say I've actually had to do that a couple of times without their gear, which is another reason why I'm like, I've only had to do this twice in my entire life. One while I was actually on duty, one because my neighbor's house caught fire and I didn't know if they were still in there. So my oldest son and I were kicking down doors and dragging people out of the house. Yeah, fun times. I was late to a not first responder related job that day, and they were not happy with me. And I'm like, dude, they're my neighbors, like 2 houses down, and I couldn't. Anyway, that's another story. So that goes back to something BZ and I talk about a lot when we're together. There are 3 types of people in the world, in my opinion, if you want to categorize them. There are sheep, there are sheepdogs, and there are wolves. If you are a sheepdog, there's really not ever any way to turn that off. I've tried. I really have, man, because my ex-wife used to get mad at me all the time because I was always, stepping in and helping people and doing this and doing that. And she's like, you don't do that kind of work anymore. I'm like, the reason I did that kind of work to begin with was because it's part of me. I don't know how to turn it off. But anyway, so I apologize for the slightly abrupt ending for the song, just for fun, because I have it right here. I'm going to let you guys hear how it was supposed to end. I'm not going to make you listen to the whole thing again, but I am going to let you listen how it was supposed to end. So I'm going to cue it up right towards the end again. And this is how it was supposed to go. I don't know what happened because somehow I loaded the wrong one, but here we go. Hey, that's not it. That's the Loftus party. Live radio being retarded, folks. How you doing? Oh, that's right. It was right here. All right. So here we go. Again, not going to make you listen to all of it. Just kind of want you to hear how it was supposed to end since I messed up, but here we go.
Given and the cost that came with it. We promise to remember those who serve, those who stand watch still, and those who never came home.
Okay, so that was the ending you were supposed to get. Kind of a fade out on some of the chorus that was there at the end that kind of ended abruptly, along with a bookend ending the way it started. So that was the ending you were supposed to get, and I apologize for the live radio shenanigans. Oh, damn it. I just broke one of my own rules again. So here we go.
I swear to God, I'll pistol whip the next guy that says shenanigans.
Yeah, well, bring it. All right, so anyway, so that was, again, military tribute for, especially for Christmas. I'll have a shorter version ready for next week because that's too long to play a lot. But I like it. I already know how I'm gonna trim it down and redo it. So I've been thinking about it since last night. But anyway, so we're here, we're live. We got about 30 minutes left of the show. So yeah, true. The problem with taking an oath is it never goes away. So, and again, this is something that as I've come to, and I didn't really mean for the show to go this direction, but since it is, we're just going to roll with it. There's something that I've come to understand about myself that I never really did until I got older. And part of it was the fact that the things that I do, the work that I do, whether it was, wearing a badge and a gun, or when I went into the private sector side of stuff and wore that badge and gun, or the call center work, or the work that I do here, it's all about service. And it occurred to me that something that I've finally come to terms with is there's something in my DNA that requires it. Because there's no other explanation. No matter what I have done, no matter what career path I have been in, it is always shifted to a form of service. It's funny because, Aggie got me a Christmas present again this year. And I'm like, damn it, one of these days I'm actually going to have enough money where I can start getting Christmas presents for the adults in my life that I know that aren't family that get me Christmas presents too. And she pointed out, she's like, you give me a Christmas present every week. She said, you've built a network that I get to hang out on and talk to people with and give them my ideas. She said, that is forever going to be a Christmas present to me. So, and she's not wrong. I mean, it's not that I think it's not enough. It's just, it never really, while it's occurred to me, it's never really been put to me that succinctly before. And even this, because I have built a platform where people can come and have their voices heard and have their ideas be known. And again, that is a form of service because it goes back to the Christmas song that I played at the beginning of the program. You never know who's listening. You never know whose life you might be able to impact or change just with one word, one sentence at the right time. And I'm living proof of that because at least as far as I know, because again, I don't really have any way to fact check it. We saved a life all the way back in 2013 on Christmas Eve because our stuff was still running. And I will admit, that's one of the reasons why I haven't really, been a fan of the whole pre-record approach that we usually use on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. But at the same time, there's not really much I can do about it because people do have lives and I don't want to be one of them. Well, somebody has to keep the switches. Yeah, no. So no, I get it. But I mean, it's still technically on. And usually Christmas Day is when we rerun all of our Christmas specials, which if you missed the one from last Friday, for shame. You actually got to hear, if you haven't heard it yet, you'll get to hear Jen Homestead sing. You'll get to hear me sing. You'll get to hear a Cowardly Lion that actually rivals the original broadcast, in my opinion. That was you? Okay, that's it. After the holidays, I'm changing the locks. Just kidding. So BZ just put in chat. And you are kind enough to include SHR into the KLRN offices, even though we steal the candy canes and mints. Oh, Rooster, that means a lot. Thank you. You guys are going to make me cry up here. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. But yeah, I'm not, I can't read it, so I'm going to put it in the chat or on the screen. Yeah, I love how you put slightly more sane because the sanity train left the station for me a long time ago, or I probably wouldn't do so many long days and long hours. But it's funny because for even now, I mean, my dad and we talk about the stuff that I do all the time, but I've never really shown it to him before. So I've sent him a few of the songs that I've done lately, and every time I send him one, he's like, "You did another one? What are you, a damn machine?" Like, no, just have creative stuff that has to get out. Dude, Dave was awesome as the Cowardly Lion. I actually felt like a schlub next to that guy. And I'm mad at myself. I talked about this with Amish the other night. I'm mad at myself because I didn't think about it at the time, but this is how much that production affected me. I actually wound up dreaming about it while I was after we were done. And in the dream, right after the Cowardly Lion said his first line, I busted into The Lion Sleeps Tonight, and now I really wish I had done that. And I also, and it's weird because we did a juxtaposition episode on it, and it's not like I actually forgot about it. It just didn't come to mind because in the original The Wizard of Oz production, the Scarecrow, which was my character, had a gun. So if I had remembered that point right before Dorothy threw the water, you guys would have heard some gunfire sound effects, and I'd be like, damn it, I can't aim without a brain, but I tried. And yeah, I really wish I would have thought of that. But anyway, so that was a lot of fun. So if you guys haven't checked that out, you can find it on our archives. I do encourage you to go listen to it. Look, it's not going to be 100% spit and polish, but we never want them that way. The whole, and going back to what Rooster just said in the chat was, keeping people more sane in 2020. Part of that, and this is the interesting side note, one of those synchronicity, serendipity things that I talk about all the time. When my marriage fell apart, I just kind of fell off the map for like a year. I did limited production work for the folks that kind of depended on me and really didn't do much of anything else. There were some folks that I kept in touch with, so they knew that I was okay. But one of the things that you remember how I mentioned, I always have these ideas and concepts rattling through my brain. I'm just not really sure how to get there. One of them was to do radio plays just like the ones that we started doing, but I never told anybody. So I start trying. So at this point, it's end of September, beginning of October of 2020, and that's when I started trying to come back up for air on a more regular basis because I was spinning out less. I will say, even today, there are still times that I spin out working on it, but but so I come back and all of a sudden I get into I was like, wait, there's a new room. What is this? And there was a DM group called the KLR Radio Players. Like, what is this? So I start poking around in there and I realized that they are putting together a production of War of the Worlds. And I'm like, you guys are, oh no, I'm sorry. This was after that because I missed it. So I started trying to poke my head out end of September, beginning of October. I wasn't really able to get back or even start trying to do more than just bare minimum until around November. So that was when I figured out that they had put on a play without me. And I'm like, you did it without me? But then I went and listened to it. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. And it was pitched by the director of the KLR Radio Players at the time, none other than Mickey Blowtorch, as kind of, the Rat Pack meets boredom, just, Rat Pack sitting around reading a script and drinking, doing a live read, kind of the dry run that they always talk about in Hollywood when everybody's just reading through the scripts. And he's like, we'll just record it and have fun. And then it turned into this whole thing. I mean, it started in 2020. It's now 2025. And we've already done our Halloween special, our Christmas special. We've got spring plays underway. We've got surprises coming for summer. So it's just one of those things where I never told anybody that was something that I wanted to do. And then coming back and realizing they had done it. Not only that they had done it, but they had done it well enough where we had people that were praising us and criticizing us at the same time. Because I will say this, if you work in a profession, if you work in public like this, public facing, speaking, radio work, TV work, play work, whatever the case may be, when you get to the point where you've got people that love you and hate you at the same time, that's when you know you're getting somewhere. Because one of the things that I loved, and somebody showed it to me, was one of my friends told me I should come check this out, and it literally sounds like a bunch of college kids. Just, I'm like, bro. And this was even before the technological upgrade that we've had over the last 18 months or so. What actually has it been? Maybe closer to 2 years at this point. Hell, I don't even remember. But this was back when we were doing it all through Skype, which compared to what we use now is like using a tin can and string. Not to mention the fact that, and Jen pointed this out, we have now this one, The one that's coming up may be a little different. We have never done run-throughs. Everybody just grabs their script. There's usually a little bit of maybe text communication or phone calls between the folks that are going to kind of be working closely together to say, hey, just, after you say this line, let it breathe for a second because I have an ad lib or something like that. But we don't get together and read the scripts beforehand. We don't time it out. And part of that is because we're all really good at improv. I didn't know that until we all started working together in this capacity, but we're all really good at improv. And the problem with improv is it's spur of the moment. So it's like lightning in a bottle, that whole thing, that they always talk about catching lightning in a bottle. With improv, it's the same way. If you try to plan it out or you try to game it out, by the time you're doing it through the live performance, it doesn't feel as genuine anymore. So that's always worked to our benefit. Now we are doing, I don't remember, Treasure Island, I think is the one we're doing. I know it's a pirate thing. I know it's pirate themed. I keep wanting to bust out the Johnny Depp movie name, but I know that ain't it. I think it's Treasure Island. So that one will likely require some pre-coordination, at least a little bit. But anyway. BZ, if I had known you at the time, I would have broke my foot off, but I get it. I really do. I do. I'm not putting that on the screen. Anybody that's in the chat that wants to read it can, but I'm not calling you out like that, other than saying if I had known you at the time, I would have broke my foot off. Just so you know. So you're lucky I didn't know you back then, because then I would have wobbled even worse than I do now. Of course, in the time frames you're talking about, I think I was maybe still in elementary school. Oh, wait. Sorry, that was kind of an age joke. My bad. Merry Christmas, BZ. All right, so let's see what other trouble we can get into. I've played a lot of music and taken a lot of breaks, so I probably won't take one for the last part of the show. Well, I'm glad somebody was there for you, brother, because, yeah, that's just... Oh, ooh, hang on. So I'm not going to give you all of this one because it's a VIP. I do encourage you to go check it out, and I'll share it here in a moment. There's a university that just apparently canned a trans instructor for anti-Christian discrimination. So anybody remember Samantha Fulnicki? She's the student a trans graduate instructor gave a 0 on an essay to because she invoked God and the Bible instead of a bunch of nonsense. And this is in my home territory. So we're going to get into this right now. So at the University of Oklahoma, they just came to a conclusion in her religious discrimination appeal, and to everyone's surprise, they actually found in Samantha's favor, which isn't going to go well for the university, by the way, because they've already had students threatening to leave because if this university is going to turn into a creationism university, I don't want to be here. Yeah, whatever. So the university made the decision to suspend Mel Curtis, a trans instructor who thought it was cool to fail people for their Christian faith. It's not a huge leap to assume Curtis would have been pretty objective if it had been a student who ripped their arguments from the Quran, however. They made the announcement over X on Monday afternoon. So a student's claim of religious discrimination on an individual assignment is in an online psychology course by a graduate teaching assistant has come to a resolution, the statement began, based on an examination of the graduate teaching assistant's prior grading standards and the pattern, as well as the graduate teaching assistant's own statements related to this matter. It was determined that the graduate teaching assistant was arbitrary in the grading of the specific paper. The statement continued, the graduate teaching assistant will no longer have instructional duties at the university. We are committed to teaching students how to think, not what to think. Oh, can we get back to that everywhere? That is a very important line, and I only wish they meant it half as much as they said it. And for those of you who don't know, I used to work there. So anyway, so we are committed to teaching students how to think, not what to think, the statement ended. The university will continue to review best practices to ensure that its instructors have the comprehensive training necessary to objectively assess their students' work without limiting their ability to teach, inspire, and elevate our next generation. Okay, so yeah, as you might expect, the leftists in the comments are raging a little bit. So this is from someone, looks like Rachel Beitkoffer. RIP to your standings in terms of being a research university. Student wrote about personal views rather than answer the academic question. If you don't believe that somebody's faith can and should have an impact on their academics, then you're not paying attention. And I'm not sure that you should be paying attention. Anyway. All right, so we got to talk about this because this whole thing out of Minnesota, in between Minnesota and Georgia, I'm kind of surprised things haven't escalated, is how I'm going to put it. So we talked about this a little bit last week. We got to talk about it today, though. So 315,000 votes were illegally certified in Georgia. You guys realize that Warnock won by a couple thousand votes? I guarantee you at least 90% of those votes were going his way. Well, I guess they couldn't have all gone his way, but trust me, they got it just enough to the tipping point, which probably means, if you think about that, with 315,000 votes, we're going to go ahead and certify them. How far behind was Warnock actually, and how much different would the landscape of the Senate had been if we had known the truth at the time and something was able to be done about it? So then you find out what's happening in Minnesota, and you go look and you realize that the entire GDP of the country of Somalia is less than they've stolen from us. That should be the part that pisses you off, is when you start looking at it at scale. Because this isn't the first place this is happening. We keep talking about how expensive things are here and how unaffordable they are here. It's because we have a wealth transfer happening in this country. You have people that shouldn't have access to our wealth that are coming in and draining our coffers and sending it back to where they came from. And then everybody's like, why can we not afford anything around here anymore? Why is everything so expensive? When you have a population explosion that strains all of your systems, which, again, we talked about this before, is happening by design. Cloward Piven. Just saying. But, okay, hang on. Sorry, I got distracted. I found a story we're going to be looking at in a second, because this doesn't make any sense to me, but we'll get to that in a second. Because I'm trying to figure out, sorry. When I get to the story, I'll explain. Sorry, my brain is currently on 2 tracks, so let me bring this one to a close. But seriously, with what's coming out with Georgia, with what's coming out with Minnesota, with what's coming out with knowing now that the previous administration was doing everything they could to collapse everything from the inside out, people are still not willing to wake up. And just when you thought maybe things were starting to get better with our government agencies, so apparently this just happened. This is from Rusty Weiss over at Red State. And so get this one. So the FBI early this month executed a raid on the home of a Secret Service agent currently serving on Vice President J.D. Vance's protective detail. It was part of an ongoing investigation into alleged tax and wire fraud. The fraud reportedly involves millions in misused donations to a nonprofit charity. But wait, there's more. Did you like my Ron Popeil impression there? So this gets even more grinchy for this holiday season. The charity in question was meant to benefit inner city youth and domestic violence victims. Stay classy. The raid, which took place on or around December 8th, according to Real Clear Politics, marks the culmination of a joint FBI-IRS probe that has been active for over a year. The Secret Service agency joined in the effort in recent months. Sources familiar with the matter tell the outlet that investigators have interviewed more than a dozen Secret Service agents, including some who donated to the charity in question. Don't feel too bad for them, however. Those individuals reportedly received some of their donations back as a payment and may have been able to write that off. Que interesante. So the unnamed agent, identified in IRS filings as the founder and chairman of the board for the nonprofit, is accused of misusing millions in donations to the charity, which has been operating since 2022. The charity claims to provide services such as emergency assistance to survivors of domestic violence, financial literacy, preventing childhood obesity, and supporting families affected by HIV/AIDS. Not to mention they're a Laptop for Hope program that distributes computers to underprivileged children. Some of the laptops, according to the report, were outdated devices donated by the Secret Service itself, Wow. Let's hope they didn't accidentally hand out Hunter Biden's laptop. Oh, so things are probably going to get a lot worse for the agency, according to Real Clear Politics, who report that the alleged tax and wire fraud schemes could implicate numerous Secret Service agents and employees. One source revealed that the scandal might rival another famous blemish on the agency's record. This is bigger, I repeat, bigger than the 2012 prostitution scandal, because agents are trained to investigate tax and bank wire fraud. Anyone involved knew what they were doing was illegal. And I think this is a bit of a callback, but I'm going to play this anyway. So hang on. Oh. The entire federal bureaucracy needs a house cleaning. But anyway.
Numerous sources have told me time and time again that recruitment has been a problem since Cartagena. So since a prostitution scandal that is pretty well known back in 2012, but that all got exacerbated after.
Well, Susan, just quickly, since let's assume everybody, just on the off chance that if you listen to this podcast, you might not excel at the category of prostitution scandals in the Secret Service in the 2010s, you know? So remind people briefly what happened in Cartagena and why do you think that was such a pivotal moment?
Yeah, because so the Secret Service agents, there were several of them that got caught. I guess in Colombia, it is legal to have prostitution is legal. And so they were down there for an advance trip for President Obama. So the president wasn't there, but they were caught with prostitutes and a supervisor, female supervisor, rounded them up and it got leaked to the press. And that's how I was told that if it didn't get leaked, it would probably have been all kept under the rug and those agents still would be on staff, still be employed. But it all exploded around 2012 out into the media and became a huge scandal. It was this mentality of rings off, wheels up, rings off was the whole. Back then it was this boys club that was the problem.
So there you go. So the 31st, hey, it's one of my favorite phrases, Susan. Today's problems are yesterday's solutions. You know, the solution was let's get rid of all these skirt chasing dudes. Let's bring some more women in there. But now we have a DEI culture and we've got some other problems. And so it's interesting. You've covered this for a long time that you see that as a sea change in terms of affecting the culture. And that's led us to where we are today. One other incident we didn't mention or you didn't mention in terms of high profile potential Secret Service failures that people are, I think, rightfully concerned about. We've got a video here and we'll play this. And so if you can either hear the audio, if you're watching this on YouTube, which we hope you are, you will see the video. But what are people about to see, Susan? What's this video?
Well, this was when President Trump decided to go out for the first time and show that DC was very safe and that even the president could go out and sit down in a restaurant. It was a failure on the Secret Service part because protests, Code Pink protesters, we know them very well because they interrupt congressional hearings all the time for decades. But they showed up at the same restaurant and they were actually in there before Trump was seated. And they confronted him and started yelling epithets and calling him modern day Hitler. And it took an awful long time for the Secret Service to react.
It's true. Watch this. This is insane. Look at and it's just this weird moment of Donald Trump just standing there, as we're about to see.
Trump, you are not welcome here! Yes, he is! Trump is the Hitler of our time! Free DC! Free Palestine! Trump is the Hitler of our time! Free DC! Free Palestine!
You know, it's so odd. Everything feels differently after the Charlie Kirk assassination, Susan, but just the idea of people kind of espousing that rhetoric, that proximity to the president, especially when you consider there have been 2 previous attempts on his life, very troubling.
Okay, that was on me. So yeah, I don't know how long I've been talking with. I was getting feedback when I was playing the video, so I muted my panel, and then usually it gives me a pop up that says, "Hey, dummy, your mic's muted." It didn't do that this time. So anyway, so what I was saying a second ago, when you couldn't hear me, was this. You know, one of the things that drives me absolutely crazy about the politics of today is that we still on the Republican side want somebody that's always spit and polished, and Trump's not that. So one of the things that I did love in the video clip that I played just a moment ago, because again, you couldn't hear this part, was when somebody yelled out, "You're not welcome here, President Trump," and immediately somebody yelled back, "Yes, he is," and then they went into free Palestine, Trump's the Hitler of our time, and my eyes started rolling back in my head because I'm pretty much tired of that imagery, because if Donald Trump was actually Hitler, things would be being fixed a lot faster. Just saying. I'm not saying I would agree with how they were being fixed. Yeah, I know. That's why I'm backing up. Trust me. I figured it out when I saw BZ say no sound. Then I looked down and I was like, crap, I forgot to unmute after the video. I don't know why Restream does that to me sometimes, but I was afraid it looked like there was an echo, so I killed my mic feed, then forgot to open it back up. But anyway, so that's kind of the Cliff's Notes version of most of it. I was kind of going into detail about how, for most of the American people, it kind of seems like they have this idea where they want politicians to be spit and polished and always, drinking milk instead of drinking a beer, those kind of things. But at the same time, when we have politicians like that, and then the truth comes out later about things they've said behind closed doors, everybody's like, oh, at least with Trump, you know what you're getting. Like him, hate him, lump it all together, whatever you want to do. At least with him, you know what you're getting. Again, with the whole Rob Reiner thing, because again, I was on mute. I understand why he said what he said on Truth Social. Would I have put it that way? Probably not. But then I would have been doing the same thing everybody else does, trying to be all nice and cushy with it, when in reality, can't really stand the guy. I don't know him. But I do know, and I talked about this after his passing, I do find it really, really interesting that a lot of the same people that are screaming and yelling that President Trump shouldn't have said those things are the same people that got paid to write articles trashing Rob Reiner. That's why I took both sides, because I had to, because I was one of those people. Rob Reiner was one of my major targets when I first started writing for Twitchy, because he made it so easy. And then he went to Blue Cry for a while, and then now this. I do find it kind of eerie that one of his last public statements was Donald Trump will be the last president of my lifetime. I know why he said it the way that he did, because he assumed at some point Donald Trump's going to go full authoritarian and never leave. But it's weird that he may or may not have actually spoken something into existence. As a person of faith, I will say this: be careful of the things that you say, even when you're by yourself. Because we have the same power of life and death in our tongues as our Creator has. And everybody forgets that in a lot of ways he spoke things into existence. Now, with man and woman, he took his time. He sculpted them. He didn't just speak them into existence. He took the time to sculpt them, to shape them, to mold them. I think that's important for a reason, because it shows how important we were to him even back then. And in this season that is Christmas, I would like to remind everybody that when Jesus came down to earth, he didn't come in the way the Jews expected. They were expecting somebody from the house of David to show up in adult form, kick the crap out of Rome, reassert Israel as the head of the world, and rule happily for 1,000 years or more. They didn't get that, though, which is the whole point of The Miracle Was You, the song that I played at the beginning of the show. Because he didn't show up how we expected him to, but in reality, what he did was so much better, because it wasn't just about the temporary things here on earth. He was giving us a pathway back to eternity, which we didn't have until then, not in the way that we do now. But that's why this stuff becomes so important, and that's why it matters, and that's why it needs to be talked about and not shied away from, which, going back to the University of Oklahoma story I was reading about with you guys a moment ago, that's why that stuff is important to me. There should not be this distinction between academia and faith, because some of the earliest academics were people of faith. It's like we keep trying to divorce ourselves from part of who we are. And at the same time, I feel like we do that with politics, which is why I said earlier, and I'll say it again, I like trust me, it took a minute to get used to it. It really did. But I've come to like the fact that Donald Trump is the same person on camera that he is off camera. I mean, granted, there's a little bit of a difference, and I know this from people that I know who know him. One of the guys I used to fill in for, his wife was the head of the Oklahoma branch of his campaign in 2016. So I did get some behind the scenes inside baseball kind of stuff here and there. Nothing bad, but stuff that maybe other people didn't necessarily know. But as we come to a close, as we come to the close of this particular show, as we move into the Christmas holiday in earnest over the next day, I just want to remind you that sometimes the answers you get may not have been tied to the questions you were asking, but may have actually been the answers that you needed. I think in a lot of ways that's been Donald Trump for this country, because a lot of people have woken up. And as much as I hated what happened in 2020, especially now that we're finally really starting to understand likely the real reason that Nancy Pelosi never called in the National Guard, was because there really was some fraudulent activity going on in the most secure election in history. If it happened in Georgia, imagine where else it's happening, and we're not even being that it happened, and we're not even being told about it. But even Georgia would have changed the entire shape of everything for those 4 years. I mean, I haven't gone back to look at the electoral vote count, but if Trump won Georgia, would that have changed the election? I don't know, but I know what it would have changed. If Warnock never went to Senate, that would have changed a lot of things. That's why this stuff matters. But since we're coming to the end of the program, I do encourage, and this is odd for someone in my business to say, but stay off of screens on Christmas if you can. I mean, for the first time in forever, I really don't have huge Christmas plans, so I will probably be doing some writing because we're doing stuff on Christmas Eve, and then everything else we're doing is after Christmas. So I will, because I haven't really been able to. I've been doing lots of writing. I'm working on a children's book. I've got another fiction book I'm working on, and I'm starting to put together a concept for a nonfiction book along with the music that I've been writing. So it's not that I haven't been writing. I just haven't been writing for Twitchy. So I plan on fixing that probably over the next few days as things, as for me, the holiday season is actually slowing down for the first time in forever. Because like I said, we're going to do kind of a thing on Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day is just going to be me and the kids that live with me, and we're going to do a small Christmas lunch, and then I will probably do some work and then do the rest of the stuff afterwards. But as we do come to a close, I want to take the time to thank every single one of you who tune in with us on a regular basis. We've had over 200 paying attention to us today, which on the day before a major holiday is pretty damn good, especially for a daily show. Because we get great numbers at night, get numbers during the day, which that's fine. Everybody's usually at work, and I have to tell everybody all the time, if you're listening to me at work, make sure you've got earbuds in. I had somebody who complained to me once because I played a crash joke right as their boss was walking by, and they didn't have their earbuds in, so they got a trip to HR, and they tried to blame me for it. I'm like, I play disclaimers and stuff for a reason. You're an adult. You made that decision. That's not my fault. Besides, as somebody who's been to HR multiple times, it's not that bad. Dude, that's a story for another day. So I have a friend. Well, he didn't really start out as a good friend. He was more of an annoyance because he was always just picking on me. And I'm one of those people, until I get to know you, I don't really pick back. But if you've given me grief, once I'm comfortable with you, trust me, I'm coming back with both barrels. And the funny thing is, everybody always thought we were legit fighting with each other. And we would always talk about it afterwards. Like, this is so funny watching these people think we actually hate each other. And we got called into HR so much, we were on a first name basis with the HR director when I worked for Convergys. Jeremy Shipe. Anyway, all right, we're going to get out of here. Again, want to take the time to say thank you to everybody who hung out with us today. I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday season. No matter which holiday you are celebrating, please take the moment to at least celebrate something, even if you're agnostic, because, these times are important. Spend time with your family. Unplug for a little bit. Focus on what really matters. My name's Rick Robinson. This has been my show, and I'll be back with you guys probably Friday afternoon. I don't think like I said, this is going to be the Monday and the Friday for this one. I'll be back tonight for Manorama, and then that will conclude my broadcast work until Friday afternoon when we come back for the Weekend News Roundup, and then probably He Said, She Said. And then we have Juxtaposition on Saturday night because I had to do a makeup episode because everything that was going on. So we're back on our regular schedule this Saturday, and then Sunday night. Gonna do things a little differently. We are bringing Kingdom and Country officially came back 2 days ago. But I did a Christmas special. So because it's been a minute since we've done the topic that I had mapped out, we're gonna start that over. I'm not gonna archive it, but I am going to, over the next 2 weeks, play the first 2 episodes of the arc that we were on while I put together or finish finalizing the steps for episode 3 and episode 4. So for those of you, if you've already listened to it, you are excused, but at least come in and say hi so we get the count and be like, okay, I'll come back when you guys are on to the new stuff because I've already heard all this. But anyway, all right, we're getting out of here. Again, apologies for the technical issues there. For those of you that are listening on the Spreaker version, which will come out in the next day or so, you don't know what I'm talking about because that'll be cut. But again, we as I talked about during the cast party for The Wizard of Oz, we have all graduated from the Bill O'Reilly "Fuck It, We'll Do It Live" broadcasting school. So anyway, I hope everybody has a great day. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with me, and we'll be back with you after the holidays. Merry Christmas, everybody. May it be the best Christmas Hanukkah ever. Say goodnight, Gracie.